Hello, and welcome to Voices of the 21st Century Author Spotlight, a show dedicated to sharing the messages of women from around the world who show up and share their truth. My name is Gail Watson, founder and CEO of Women Speakers Association, and today we're going to have a really good conversation about taking big leaps in our life. I have the proud honor of introducing you today to international best-selling author Barbara Boldt. She is co-author of Voices of the 21st Century, Women Transforming the World, which has reached bestseller in 4 countries and went #1 in 10 different categories. So please join me in welcoming Barbara.
Thank you so much, Gail. It's a pleasure.
I have been so excited to talk with you because your story, I mean, just it starts off with jump and the net will appear. And that's who you are. And I love the story you share of a life that some of us almost just dream about. And you really have courage and just go for it attitude to take those big leaps. So before we dive into more of that story, what inspired you to share this personal journey of yours?
It's a story that I wanted to share for a long time. I've told bits and pieces of the story over the years in lots of contexts. There have been so many funny things that happened while I lived abroad. And everybody would always say, "Oh my God, you should write a book." So I've been wanting to write a book, and I'm in the process of doing that. But this chapter and sharing this 1,000 words was a great way to get started and sort of stick my toe into the pond of becoming an author. And I think also it was very fortuitous that you had this transformation subtitle this year on the book, because it fit for me and it just made a lot of sense. So it's a story that I hope will inspire other people, because I sort of lived a dream in a lot of ways, but it also wasn't always easy. And that's something that, you leap, and then you might pay the consequences. It can go well or not so well.
Well, that's the big fear, right? When we hear this a lot, even just as individuals who may have been in the job world or corporate world, and we want to explore our passions. And we have to take that leap, leave the paycheck, leave the security. But you did it in a really big way.
Well, and it was, the reason I took the vacation in the first place, which started it all, was because I knew I needed to be pulled out of my complacency. I think we can get to those places in life where we just are stuck. And I was stuck and I knew it. And for some reason, I felt like experiencing another culture was a way that I could I call it shaking myself up. I really wanted a jolt. And that's what you get when you go abroad and you go to a country where you don't speak the language. You're pretty much guaranteed, to be whacked out of your comfort zone. So that was intentional on my part.
Love that. So when you imagine a reader reading your story, which while there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of, oh, I wish I could do that. You also give a lot of teachings on, you give those suggestions on how we can also do that. So what are some of the key takeaways you'd want somebody to leave with after reading your story?
Well, I think it is that point that you can do this. There can be all kinds of obstacles and blocks, but most of them are in our mind. Most of them are just things that we think are real, but in fact may or may not be. And I guess one thing people could try is, maybe you have this great big dream and you're afraid to approach it or take the leap. Take a smaller leap first. You do something that's not quite as imposing or quite as scary, and show yourself that you can leap, you do land, and then you do whatever comes next. That's really the point, that the thing that happened to me. There were several inflection points in my journey where I had to make that decision to leap again, but you always land. And then there's life. There's whatever life has for you there. but start small. Maybe that's a way that people can get themselves to the larger dream.
You have such a great attitude. So is this is this how you work with your clients? Or I mean, because you talked about you're all about the transformation. How are you working with your clients?
Well, I am an internal optimist, and I'm also very open-minded. So things that I always think there's things are possible. And I suppose the way that translates to the way I work with my clients is that I do believe everybody can become a better version of themselves. It's that you start in a place, you put attention to something. In my case, it's speaking skills or communication skills. And you see that by paying attention and putting in effort, you can get yourself to a better place. And in my work, it's never about perfection. It's always making sure that person's authentic, being themselves. However, they're more clearly, they communicate more clearly as themselves. That's where I try to get them, is that I don't expect perfection. I want them to remain authentic, but I do also know that they can acquire specific skills that will help them become a better version of themselves.
As an expert in this, and you've, worked with many on this and what you observe, what in your opinion, what would be the biggest thing that holds us back as individuals?
As individual, well, I think underestimating our potential is probably a really big one. I think so. We all have blind spots, and so many of you've got to get beyond the blind spots. I think the one really key thing in any kind of coaching really is that feedback. A coach can help you see what you might not be able to see. And people who are open and willing to hear the hard stuff, maybe get that feedback and that you might not want to hear, but it can really remove this block and help you expand out into who you really want to be. I think that's very, very key.
I love it. And just as you were sharing, because what you're sharing can be very scary for somebody to have to look at those blind spots. And when I think of you saying, take that leap, it's taking the leap with you, Barbara, and versus not having a net, we do have you as a net. So it's very safe.
It's true. And I'm very conscious of creating safe spaces for my clients or people that I have in a classroom. For years, I taught a presentation skills class at a Swiss university, and I had 30 students in one classroom, which is a lot of people. I wanted everybody to feel that they could present and share about whatever was important to them without being teased, without being, I don't even know how to say that, but I didn't want anybody making fun of anyone else in that classroom. And I made it very clear from the beginning. I was like, if you're here for that reason, you need to leave because that's not okay. I will not have that going on here. So, and it's that creation of the safety that allows people to grow.
I love that. There's no person greater, no person less.
No, everybody starts from their point A and they go to their point B. And so and even in my work now, I don't teach a curriculum. I work with their materials, whatever they need to work on. We're always in the moment in their job or their work reality, working on whatever is important to them in that moment. And even if it shifts, like we've been working on an elevator pitch and all of a sudden that's not relevant anymore, we pivot or shift to whatever has become relevant in their reality.
Great. So if you're listening to Barbara share right now and you're feeling maybe a little stuck and you need some inspiration or maybe inquisitive about that, wanting to take a leap in your own personal world, check out her book. Let's get a copy of her book. Where can we get a copy of your book, Barbara? That's the next question.
My book is going to be for sale on my website. It will be at boldtglobal.com. There will be a sales page. It's being created as we speak because right now I still don't have my books, but they should come, I would think, next week. I've been notified that they've shipped. So I will have them soon. I will also be selling them here locally in the Southeast Michigan area. I have a couple of book signings already organized. and we'll be signing books for people at different events and venues around town. So yeah, it will
Love
be
it.
available.
It and it's truly a great story. So I encourage everyone to go get your copy of her book. It's a fabulous read, great inspiration to you. So, Barbara, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And I just want to, just before we leave off with some of your words of wisdom, because I know you have some for us, I just wanted to spell out your website name. So it's
Sure.
Boldt Global, BOLDT Global, GLOBAL.com.
.com. Yeah, and it's usually the D in my last name that trips people up.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks so much. Thanks so much for
Thank you.
sharing your story. It's fun, but it's so powerful with its message. Really, really is. And what a great life. Although I know scary at times.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I'm also a person who's lived on the edge a lot in my life. Looking at me, you might not guess that, but being comfortable living close to the edge allowed me to do a lot of what I did, because I don't need a lot of security and prediction and, oh my gosh, I've got to know what I'm going to be doing next week or next year. It was like people would ask me to teach. I taught 4 times in Finland, and you could teach on management, couldn't you? Sure. And so I really never said no, which is culturally, it's actually pretty American. I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said, if someone asks you if you can do something, say yes, and then figure out how to do it. And that's very much the way I lived that experience. Some of the people who hired me didn't know that. However, I made it work.
that's awesome. Great story. Lots of fun. And did you have any further words of wisdom that you wanted to leave with us?
I would just say follow your passion and follow your dream. I feel very fortunate that I did what I did at the point in my life that I did it. I was in my mid-30s. So I'd been married and divorced. I had a 10-year career under my belt. So I had some skills and some experience. I wasn't in my teens or 20s,
Mhm.
but I wasn't in my 40s either, or 50s to when I started, which would have had there's a whole different set of issues if you wait too long. So if you feel like there's something you're going to regret not doing in your life, I would say find a way to do it.
Live with no regrets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I honestly can say that I don't have regrets about that whole 20-year experience. It wasn't always easy, and there were a lot of tough moments, but I don't regret any of it. It was amazing. It was an amazing 20+ year ride, living in, seeing things, hearing things, meeting amazing people all
Mhm.
over all over the world, mostly in Europe. But it was really, really worth whatever angst I experienced.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Barbara. You are truly a woman transforming this world through your life experience and through sharing it with us. Thank you. What a privilege to get to know you. And I'm sure if as people are listening now, pick up on her. Your feeling is so open. You're so approachable, and it's through that and your commitment to keep everybody equal and to give them that space, that safe space. Beautiful. I just love you for that. So thank you so much for transforming the world and adding in your kindness and your values and setting that up.
Well,
So
thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
And thanks for everybody joining us today. We look forward to connecting with you again. And wherever you are in this world, we want to wish you a great day. Thanks so much.